Hi everybody, it's Meg from Books Off the Beaten Path, and I am doing the band, B-A-N-D, book tag. And I was tagged on this by my wonderful friend Philip from A Poet Reads to Write, and by Book Chat with Pat, who is wonderful. And I will hopefully link, I know I'll link their channels because I know I can do that. But I always say I'll link the videos and I never can figure out how to do it. So if I do it, it's gravy, it's bonus. If not, I'll just link the channels and you can look it up. So this is based on a tag. This is an original tag by a gentleman whose name escapes me at the moment, but it actually has to do with the bands he likes to listen to, and for his 40th birthday. But there's a book prompt that goes along with each of the books, with each of the musical talent that he's referencing. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's see how many you've heard of, how many you can predict that I'm going to have on here, and if I surprise you with any. Okay, I'm trying to get this done in an hour because we have to go to church soon and everything like that. So here we go. Ready? The band, B-A-N-D, book tag. Okay, number one, Cardiacs, a book close to your heart or a book with flowers on the cover. Bonus points for daisies. Well, I have the Vicar of Wakefield, which has some flowers on it, but I don't know that they're daisies, and it's not really close to my heart. But of course, Jane Eyre is, because everybody knows it's my favorite book in the whole world. But I wanted to show you this beautiful copy that I just got from Meadow Market Books. If you haven't checked out the independent bookstore tour of Meadow Market Books, please check it out. And order from them. You can order from them online. They're wonderful. But look at this. I mean, now Jane didn't look like that. She wasn't like a Harlequin heroine or anything like that. But it's just beautiful. The purple and the white. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Okay, I gotta stop coveting. Gotta calm down. All right. So the second one is a book that brings you joy or was written or set near where you live. Well, this one I don't have the physical copy for because once again, I have loaned it out. I don't know where it is, but it's Sand in My Eyes. And Sand in My Eyes is about a pioneer woman who starts her life, her wedded life, I believe, if I remember it correctly, in Woodward, Oklahoma. And she is from Texas, and she moves up with her fiance, who becomes her husband, and they move to Woodward, Oklahoma. And it is wonderful. It's a wonderful piece of history, what she talks about. And you know, she talks about, I remember one section that I just have to share with you where she's pregnant. And she doesn't feel well one day. She wakes up and she doesn't feel well. And her mother says, because it's hot in Woodward, let me tell you, it gets hot. And her mother says, oh, there's nothing worse than a summer cold. And I'm like, woman, she's giving birth. And she says in the next chapter, she gave birth that afternoon. But, you know, it's a great read. It's a great read. And it's very historical, and it's near and dear to my heart because it really shows the elevation that they wanted to take in Oklahoma at that time. Like, people were taking piano lessons, and they were, you know, they're forming very reasonable, unlike today, very reasonable forms of government. And it was a great book, Sand in My Eyes. So if you get a chance, it's out of print. You can only get it on ABE Books, so get it there. Okay, what's the next one? Oh, that was XTC. That was the band XTC. I've never heard of most of these bands. Thelonious Monk, and I know he was a jazz guy. A character with a brilliant name or a distinctive hat. Well, I'm going to have to go with a non-book on that. And the reason I'm going to have to go with a non-book on that is because it's not really a non-book, but it's the book that I am writing called Olivet's Library. And in Olivet's Library, which will someday be published, if not even self-published, it will someday get finished and get out there, because all I have to do is edit it, and then it's done. We have a character in there by the name of Lady Millicent, and she is all about hats. And I had the best time researching hats, and I'll throw a couple pictures up of some wild hats, and yeah, Lady Millicent, Olivet's Library. She's a hat wearer. Okay, Robert Wyatt, a character who experiences a sea change or hits rock bottom. For that one, I am going with A Telltale Heart, because that story always freaked me out, and I think that it is the story when you have become that insane that you hear the heart beating and he had to kill the man because of the man's eye and everything like that. This guy has hit rock bottom. So really, Edgar Allan Poe, A Telltale Heart. I don't know, it's not a book, it's a short story, but still, that's who I've got for hitting rock bottom. Okay, what's next? Ivor Cutler, a favorite poetry book of poems, bonus points if you read a poem, or a favorite Scottish book. Well, I love poetry, and I love Billy Collins, and I love Mary Oliver, and of course I love Shakespeare, and I love Emily Dickinson, and I love so many poets. I just couldn't decide on that, so I decided to go the opposite way, and I decided to go with a Scottish book. And I got this one, I found this one that I'd gotten years ago, and ooh, it's tons of fun. Scottish Ghosts. Look at that. She's a Scottish ghost. But this one was really good. And this one was, and they're not that long. Ghosts in a house, different houses in Scotland that have little ghost stories associated with them. And Bedley Castle, never heard of it, but apparently it's haunted. So I went with a Scottish book, Scottish Ghosts. Went with that one. Okay, what's next? The Bad Plus, a book that is a retelling of an older story, or a book with a mathematical term or a number in the title. Okay, so I've kind of got, I've got one for that, and sort of two. So let me show you what I've got. Okay. So the first one for my retelling book, this is The After House, and this was written by Mary Roberts Reinhardt, and this is loosely based on a murder that took place on, I want to say, the George Fuller boat. And I think it was the George Fuller. I should have looked that up before I came on, because now I look kind of like an idiot. But anyway, what happened in the murder was these wealthy people took this yacht out for a cruise. And this is a true crime. These wealthy people took this yacht out for the cruise, and the captain and his wife, and I think one other person, were brutally axe murdered on the boat. And Mary Roberts Reinhardt retold that story in the After House. And Herbert Fuller, I think it's the Herbert Fuller. You poor people. I'm so glad that you watch me, because I'm such a goofball. Anyway, the Herbert Fuller. And they never could figure it out. And I was like, really? There are only like 5 people on the boat. Surely you could have figured that out. But Mary Roberts Reinhardt paints a very different picture of the murderer in this one. And it's a great retelling, and I love it. So for the mathematical term, I read this years ago, and it's called Fear of Physics. And it's a guide for the perplexed. And I went through a really sciencey phase when I was in my 30s. I wanted to know a lot about science. I read a lot of Carl Sagan. And, oh, who wrote Dinosaur in a Haystack? I can't remember. If you remember who wrote Dinosaur in a Haystack, put it in the comments, because I can't remember. But anyway, it's a wonderful story, a series of essays about physics that really are relatable. Sorry, I have hair on my mouth. That are really relatable and understandable, and it's great. The Fear of Physics. So, and I read it years ago, so I don't remember too much about it other than I enjoyed it and it stayed in the library. It made the cut. It stayed in the library. Okay, what's next? A book that scared you or a thought-provoking book. Okay, so a book that kind of scared me and a thought-provoking book. You're going to think this is silly. Plutarch's Lives. I have the full unannotated edition of Plutarch's Lives, and it scared me because when I read it, I thought there was no way that I could read this, and I'm just not smart enough to read this. But I read it. I read it years ago. I remember the summer that I read it. It was like the only thing I read the whole summer, and it was fascinating. And it scared me because I thought, I'm going to get into this book and I'm going to realize how not intelligent I really am. But it's another one of these books that's very relatable. This is the Everyman copy. Let me get your copyright date on it. It was owned by John E. Walker in 1951. And so, yeah, it scared me. It's a modern library. I said it was an Everyman's library. It's a modern library. And it scared me because I thought, I'm going to find out that I'm not the person that I thought I was. But it turns out that I am the person I thought I was because I made it through and I loved it. Okay, and then a book that opened my eyes. This was a college book that I took a world religions class, and I adored this book. The World's Living Religions. I loved it so much that I have also kept it in the library. It also has made the cut. I haven't read it since college, but I remember reading it and reading about Zen and Shintoism and all the kind of stuff that a good Catholic girl is never exposed to. And it was a great read. So if you're looking for something kind of basic, and yeah, it is a textbook and everything, but it reads really smoothly, I would recommend this one. And let's see, that was by Archie J. Baum. Okay, what's next? A book by a Nordic author, Björk. See, I've been forgetting to put the names out there. Björk. A book by a Nordic author or with an icy or wintry setting. Oh, that's easy. Snowfire. Snowfire, just read it, just reviewed it. Fondue. The skiers, remember with the fondue? So, Snowfire takes place, icy setting. Got it. Okay, what's next? The Kinks, Gentle Giant Devo Field Music. A book about siblings or written by siblings. My book about siblings that I've got is this beautiful copy of Sense and Sensibility. And isn't it gorgeous? Look at the back. So it's Marianne and Eleanor, and I have my Ex Libris. This is my book. So when it goes to the thrift store, after they clean out the house, after I've kicked it, you'll know that it was mine. But yes, book about siblings, Sense and Sensibility. If you haven't read it, you're missing out. I'm almost done. Don't worry, I'm almost done. Okay, The Beatles, a book that a parent or relative introduced you to, or a book you've loved a long, long time. Easy. The Red Lamp, right up there with Jane Eyre, my second favorite book. Actually, The Red Lamp and Jane Eyre are tied for first. I have loved this book ever since I read it when I was like 13 years old, and that was a lot of years ago. And I reread it often. So we had a little bit of technical difficulties, and we're going to try this again. But we've gotten down to the Beatles, a book that a parent or relative introduced you to, or a book you've loved a long, long time. Easy. The Red Lamp. I have loved this book since I read it when I was 13 years old. It is tied for first place with Jane Eyre. Wonderful book. It's about ghosts and murders and mysteries and is it real? Is it not real? I know you've heard me talk about this 100 times, so I won't waste any more time on it. And the last one is Spinal Tap. These prompts go to 11. Love Spinal Tap. Okay, recommend a favorite song, album, or artist. This is a new artist for me, Maisie Peters. So hopefully I can get a picture up there of her, Maisie Peters. And she's just, I heard The Villain was the first song I heard for her. And My Regards is fantastic. Psycho, Blonde, Maisie Peters, check her out. Well, I'm going to be battling with my phone the rest of the day after I get off church, and so I will check you later.